Richmond Region Tourism's job is really to promote this destination to visitors, leisure travelers, and to meetings, tournaments, conventions, because we want them to come here and experience the destination, obviously building an economic wealth that is all related to travel, right? And it's a super cool opportunity also for me, working for Richmond Region Tourism, to promote it to our residents, because we realize the number one reason people visit a destination, honestly, is because of friends and family. And so because our job is to get visitors and travelers here, we really want to promote the destination internally to our, what we call our also our customers, which are our residents. And a lot of what I do, I work in community relations, and a lot of what I do is to promote Richmond and make Richmond really put it in front of our residents, when a lot of times I always hear they don't know what's just in their own backyard. So the goal of community relations at Richmond Region Tourism is to help us enhance the opportunity to get more visitors into our destination. Yes. Well, actually, out of graduate school.
Okay.
I moved to Richmond from UVA. That's where I did my undergraduate work, and went to grad school at VCU, and just said, yes, I want to stay here. I love Richmond, and I was working for another nonprofit, because Richmond Region Tourism is a nonprofit organization. I will also say we also have a 501c3. We have a foundation as well. But I was working for a foundation, another nonprofit, and they were right next door. I knew nothing about what a CVB was. I didn't even know there was an industry called tourism and hospitality. And I was working on this event, which was a golf tournament, and the representative from the CVB was like, hey, we have a job opening. Why don't you consider? You're right out of grad school. And I was like, okay. And I applied. I was Jenny Price. I don't know for those who are going to watch this, but Jenny Price hired me, and I fell in love with a lifelong career. And that, of course, is working with the Convention and Visitors Bureau space. Obviously, there's other components of tourism and hospitality, but one of the things that I find interesting is a lot of times when you're talking to specifically high school students, they don't really understand that there's so many different facets of what working in tourism and how many job opportunities and the different diverse ways that they can make a career out of tourism. Here in the Richmond region, almost 25,000 jobs are dedicated to the tourism and hospitality industry. And for a person that works in the Convention and Visitors Bureau space, and again, that's bringing in visitors outside of our own destination and marketing to them internationally and nationally. So think about that. We've got marketing, you've got sales and services. There's all these different jobs that are under this umbrella of working at a Convention and Visitors Bureau. Again, somewhat of a non-traditional space that you don't readily think about as far as tourism and hospitality. I did not. My undergraduate degree was in rhetoric and communication. So that's basically learning how to speak, understanding, analysis, reading and analyzing copy and word. But and believe it or not, my master's degree is in counseling, which I tell everybody on our team that I use it every single day, which, specifically speaking about right now is very useful. But even though I didn't come from a traditional space in terms of going to either a culinary or hospitality training program, you learn so much with on-the-job training. And I had to be vested in trying to learn and to speed up and do as much education and learning and research that I could understand all the different facets of this industry, which is, again, so diverse. But I definitely would strongly encourage students that are looking in tourism hospitality to look in the space of working at a Convention and Visitors Bureau. Opportunities are so vast as far as being able to travel, being able to expose yourself to so many things that you would not necessarily experience in just a traditional, I think, for me, because I can say this, in a traditional tourism space. So honestly, if we're talking about right now, and we are in COVID, my day is Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting. And that really, those meetings all surround my job. I think if you show for this, my job is events and sponsorships. So I work in the events sponsorship space. And because I work in the event sponsorship space, I've really had to learn how to, and I'm going to use the word pivot, in terms of what do we do when we can't meet in person. I'm on so many calls trying to figure out how do we change our programming, what space do we look at to host an event, how do we work with culinary, and how do we still promote working in the space of culinary even though we're not meeting in person. So a lot of what my day is from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. it's really working to turn my normal programs that I'm responsible for into actionable items that we can do during this time. I am happiest at work when I'm teaching our I Am Tourism Ambassador program, classes and program. So at Richmond Region Tourism, I shared a little earlier that our job is also to work in the community to showcase why tourism is so important, and it creates a quality of life here. And so we have an I Am Tourism Ambassador program where I get to talk about all things Richmond to residents, to students, to business owners, to corporations. And really the goal is to get them excited about what they can do because they live here, where places they can eat, attractions that they can visit. And a part of that is me learning so much more about this destination than I ever thought I could ever know, even though I actually grew up in the Richmond region, well, around the Richmond region. So it's one of my most favorite things to do. And honestly, my most favorite thing to do is to teach to college students and high school students, because a lot of times they don't think about, they come here for school, but they don't really understand or know what's in the community that they live in. And also for high school students, it's just opening up their eyes to just different perspective about what tourism and how they can get involved into the tourism space. I think you just have to put yourself out there to experience different facets of the industry. Apply for jobs working front of the house. Apply for jobs working back of the house. When you have a well-rounded purview, I think, of a business, of an industry or a career that you're thinking about, you should know all the different, not all, but many different facets so that you can really kind of hone in on exactly where it is that you think you fit. Because one of the other things about tourism, and I think the hospitality industry, is that you don't have to work for a CUB. You can also work in HR. You can also be a person that loves social media and social media platforms. So there's just so many different ways that you can create a career for yourself. But I would say you have to put yourself out there. You have to be interested in learning more and working. The best thing is is to actually experience what it is that you're learning. For me, I think number one is being a team player. I think you have to learn how to navigate the space of working with other people and being flexible and just being, I think, positive and open to understanding that you don't know everything, and it's an opportunity. Everything's a learning opportunity, especially when you start working new in a career. I mean, if you're seasoned or have had more, experience working in the tourism hospitality space, it would be definitely being a team player. But then also, you just got to be able to dig in your heels and being able to just pivot and go with the flow. That is super important. And then my last thing is, just because there's always been a certain way of doing things, coming up with fresh ideas is also a really important thing. You don't have to always do a thing because it's what you've done. Sometimes being able to have a different perspective and understanding that you can do that is very important as well. Truly, my mentors are at Richmond Region Tourism. if we're talking about work mentorships, I mean, there's other mentors in my life, clearly my dad being one of them and one of the most important in my life. But I will have to say Jack Barry, our president and CEO, has been a tremendous mentor. I think I know the reason I've been at Richmond Region Tourism is because of his leadership and that he believes in family and his core values. And I think you can see that in the breadth of the staff that work at Richmond Region Tourism. Jenny Price, who took a chance on a person who didn't even know what tourism and hospitality was. She took me under her arm, and she really gave me kind of the confidence to want to stay in an industry where I'm still learning. Because again, my master's degree is in counseling, and I was working on my master's when I started at the CVB, and I still did that on the side, but I just fell in love with it once I was there. My last one, I would say, would have to be Cleo Battle, who is now, I was just sharing this story. So he was a peer when I started, a colleague. He rose in the rank because he'd been there longer than I was, became the director of convention sales and services for Richmond Region Tourism, and then he moved to vice president, and then he actually left us after working for the CVB for, I want to say, 18 or 19 years. And just last week he was announced that he was president and CEO of the Louisville Tourism Convention and Visitors Bureau. And I remember the first day I met him when we had, you have to go around and meet all your colleagues, and especially the ones that you're going to work closely with. He said to me, Tamera, my goal is I'm going to be a president and CEO of a Convention and Visitors Bureau. And he is. Just announced last Friday. But the interesting thing about Cleo also is that he started working at a front desk at a hotel. That is how he started his career right after college. And so I think that's the coolest thing about this industry, is that you have the ability to really grow and move in a career that you will find whatever aspect it is that you will love. And you have the opportunity to build wealth. I mean, if you look statistically speaking, you have the ability to make $100,000 depending on whatever career goal you go into, if you stay in it and you work it and you move up and you put in the time and the work. The tourism and hospitality industry gives you that ability and flexibility. I would like to also hit on our diversity and inclusion programs that we have in the Richmond region. So we are very excited about launching one of our newest diversity and inclusion programs, which is Black RVA. We launched that prior to COVID, like seriously 3 months before COVID hit. It may be 4 months actually, but it has been, obviously with what else has happened during the COVID, and we were proponents for taking down the statues. We really decided as an organization to talk about what is happening in the country, but also here locally. And I'm super proud of the work that our Black RVA committee and the advisory committee and our staff has done. We actually hired a diversity, inclusion, community relations person who's just working on diversity and inclusion, which our other program is Out RVA. Out RVA has also, it has been almost 10 years since it was launched. I know, I can't believe it, but seeing where we started and where we are now, our MEI score for the city of Richmond has increased exponentially. We're now a top destination for LGBTQ plus community. So yes, our job is to bring in visitors into the destination, but yes, it's also to talk about what is to champion some very wonderful initiatives that we see are important so that we tell the real story about Richmond, but also to tell people we're welcome to all. And I think that's so important also. As we look at the tourism and hospitality industry, that is a key component to why people go to a hotel or eat in a restaurant, being welcome, and we are welcoming to all. So I look forward to also seeing what we will be on the other side of this too, because I feel like we're going to start seeing a lot more travelers in the diversity and inclusion space coming to Richmond because of the hard work and the foundations that have been set in order to reach that specific segment. It's super cool. We're all very proud of it. COVID has greatly impacted my role. So I shared earlier that one of my favorite things to do is teach our I Am Tourism Ambassador classes, which were in person for over 15 years. I had to completely change the model, what it looked like, the length of time. So it's really challenged me to think creatively about how we can still accomplish our goals and our mission in a space that's safe, in a space that still increases the opportunity for people to learn and learn about this destination and learn about the importance of it. You know, I never thought that tourism really impacts my life. How does it impact my life? But it does. It employs thousands of jobs. It employs the quality. Funding for tourism goes towards teachers and firefighters and all these other really important, and I shouldn't say important, but just important parts of our life. Tourism impacts. And so I think that, you know, COVID, we had to think about how do we still showcase that message and how do I still accomplish those goals. Now, I also shared that I'm on the event side, so that has been super fun as well, trying to figure out, okay, when are we going to meet in person? Can we meet in person? So my day-to-day job is absolutely affected because of COVID. You know what? Post-COVID, but also now during COVID, I still see Richmond and the region growing exponentially in sports tournaments coming into our destination. And that is one of the largest segments of meetings, conventions, and tournaments that come into our destination is because of sports tournaments. But I also really see the residents in the region championing because we see, statistically speaking, that Richmonders really do love living here. And if I just feel like we were absolutely going to exceed, you know, visitors coming here, numbers on our website were all up, and actually they have grown over the last several months just because people are feeling comfortable with the vaccines. But I still feel like that's going to happen. We're going to see more and more people visiting our destination. We're going to see more and more tournaments and meetings and conventions coming and returning here because we are considered a second-tier city, which means we're affordable. We're a driving destination. A lot, especially, you asked me prior to the pandemic, but now in the pandemic, we know people really want to drive and visit destinations. They feel more comfortable doing that. So I will say, you know, the pandemic has definitely changed a lot of things, but we have been very lucky in the Richmond region to still see interest and still getting visitors coming to the destination because we are such a drivable destination. 2 hours from DC, 2 hours from the beach, you know, we were that before COVID and obviously we're still that now. And so we're definitely, I think we're going to really find that Richmond and the region is positioned well. After we get on the other side.